Hello guys, this is Glenn Garcia from G4 Chess Club, and I'll feature here a game between Grandmaster Joey Antonio of the Philippines and a rated player from the US named Achiemann, rated 2328. Okay, so the game opens with e4, c6, d4, and d5, initiating a Caro-Kann defense, and the player from the US selected the main move knight c3, and Grandmaster Joey Antonio continued with the book move d takes e4, knight takes e4, and then bishop f5. This is a well-known position in the opening book as Caro-Kann classical variation. So the game continued with the book moves knight g3, bishop g6, knight f3, knight f6, and then bishop d3. Okay, usually in this position, black captures the bishop on d3, exchanging bishops, and then continuing development with e6, knight bd7, dark square bishop move, and maybe prepare for castle kingside or castle queenside by removing the queen on the first rank. But here, Joey Antonio prefers to retain the option of white capturing on d6, thereby opening the rook file on h file, and it gives him attacking chances on that file. Let's see if white will fall for that. The game continued knight bd7, castle kingside, e6, rook e1, and then bishop d6. Okay, here in this position there are a lot of moves. One of them is knight f5, taking advantage of the pin on the pawn on e6. Kasi hindi pwedeng kainin yun dahil open check yung king. And also threatening the bishop on d6 and the pawn on g7. Although that move is considered only half best, since black can play bishop takes f5, bishop takes f5, and then simply castle. And white has to move the bishop again, since the pin on the e file is gone. So therefore, white has a lot of other moves here in this position. One of them is c4, and then bishop g5. The American player selected bishop g5, and then our grandmaster Joey Antonio removed the pin on the f6 by removing the queen on the d8 square and placing it on the c7 square. Now from this position, white can play very solidly here, although equally with queen e2. And our grandmaster, Filipino grandmaster, can continue bishop takes bishop on d3, queen takes bishop, and then later bishop takes f6, knight takes f6, and then knight e5, giving him an equal position according to the database. I'm using ChessBase, the latest version of ChessBase. So after c3, white doesn't seem to play for the initiative here, since he is handling the white pieces. He should be aggressive. Usually kapag puti, dapat i-maintain natin yung initiative dahil tayo yung first move. Dapat lagi tayong umaatake sa itim. Kasi kapag hindi, it gives black chance to counter attack and thereby resting or grabbing the initiative from white. So in this position, white give black the chance to do that. So after castle kingside, takes on g6, h6 on g6. Notice, hinintay ng puti na mag-castling yung black sa kingside bago niya i-capture yung g6. Kasi alam niya na ang pangkakain ng black doon is yung h7 pawn. Mabubuksan yung h-file. In this position, it's not so important for black anymore kasi nag-castling na siya dyan, yung rook ay wala na sa h-file. Thereby, the possibility of attack on that venue, on that file, is not anymore possible. So after knight e4, takes. Okay, hindi ko gusto yung tira ng puti na yon kasi after knight e4, it welcomes a series of exchanges na kung saan mas lalong dumali yung play ng black, no? As player ng white, I believe, kapag puti ka, kailangan lagi mong binibigyan ng problema yung itim. Kasi kapag hindi, may chance na bumaliktad yung laro at siya na yung mag-aatake sa'yo. And usually, that's the downfall of the white pieces. So after exchanging pieces, mapapansin natin, no, sa mga move na to after queen d2, rook f e8, and then c5, no, yung move ng black na c5, it black already gains some squares for his minor pieces here, and also starts to pressure white on the d4 square. So mapapansin natin there are a lot of squares na mafi-free after this move c5, no? Black starts to attack white now. So let's see, both sides have laid their cards on the table. Let's see what happens. Now white played um, a strange move, d5. I don't favor this move. First, because it opens the e-file which welcomes more exchanges. Katulad ng sinabi ko nga kanina, kapag puti ka, dapat hindi ka nakikipag-exchange ng pieces na nakikipag-exchange ng pieces unless yung position papabor sa'yo. Kasi usually, white is under the delusion or impression na kapag grandmaster yung kalaban ko, kailangan equal, no? Kapag kakaunti yung pesa, mas madaling dumepensa, mas madaling makadraw sa grandmaster. Pero yung over anxiousness niya to exchange pieces had led him into this inaccuracy, no? Sa palagay ko sa position na to, after d5, his position collapses. So after takes on d5, queen takes d5, and then knight b6, a strong move, gaining tempo on the queen kasi kailangan umatras ng queen. Queen d3, c4, another tempo move, no? So napansin natin after two moves only, black has able to improve his position. Hindi nakakatakot yung battery ng white sa e-file. When you say battery sa chess, no, yung nagko-combine yung parehas powers ng isang piyesa. For example, in this rook, diretso yung move niya, no? Pinatungan niya ng queen sa ilalim, nilalagyan niya ng battery, ano? Ang tawag sa chess diyan, sa term diyan is battery, no? Dahil dinodoble mo yung puwersa ng rook sa harap. Pero it's not so strong anymore. Like this, for example, rook takes and then queen takes, and then Grandmaster Joey Antonio played knight f4, starting to attack white very seriously here. So akala nung white makokontrol niya yung e-file, and then it will welcome more exchanges and giving him a nice comfortable draw. But actually in this game, since the knight from d7 goes to b6 and now on a4, is now very active and putting pressure on white's pawn on b2. So after queen c2, giving the white queen a defensive chore or duty, which yun usually hindi maganda, no? Maybe rook b1 is slightly better, giving white uh, queen possibility of swinging to h4, and then possibility of knight g5 in the future. May possibility siya ng attack sa king. Hindi ako pabor na ang queen ng white sobrang lakas niya para gamiting pang depensa, no? Usually ito yung error ng mga mas mahinang players sa chess, no? They put their big guns or yung malalakas na piyesa nila para dumipensa ng may hinang piyesa kagaya ng pawn, no? Usually kapag ginawa mo yon, para mo nang binibigyan ng partida yung kalaban mo kasi ang queen, since it's a very strong piece, you should not put it into defense. It's always should be attacking. So kung may piyesa ka na mas mahina sa queen na pwede mong pang suporta, yun dapat ang ipang susuporta mo. Last resort na dapat na gamitin ang mga big pieces like queens and rooks para pang depensa sa mga pawn. So I think these are the slight small errors by white, which syempre kapag grandmaster yung kalaban mo, decisive agad yon. So after a simple defense of b5, rook e1, and a6, establishing a strong pawn chain on the a6, b5, c4 diagonal, white has already, black has already the makings of an advantage here. The knight can transfer from a4 to c5 to d3, taking advantage of the outpost on d3. When we say outpost sa chess, ito yung mga square na pwede mong lagyan ng pyesa at hindi basta-basta mapapaalis ng kalaban mo, no? Usually these squares or pivot square or outpost square, usually ang pinakamagandang ipwesto diyan kung hindi knight rook, no? Gagawin mo siyang beachhead or so suportahan mo tong pyesa na to, at ito yung sinasabi ni Aaron Nimzovich na overprotection or pag in-overprotect mo ang isang pyesa na nakapasok sa base ng kalaban, automatic that piece is magnified or lumalakas lalo yung pyesa na yon. So after h4, rook c8, knight d4, white black goes for the kill by playing knight c5, rook e3, another error by white, no? Giving black an option to exchange the bishop on f4. Maybe white here is planning to do a rook lift on the h file, rook h3 and then h5 producing an attack. But here black or the grandmaster shows this is a very slow plan. So after bishop f4 takes an exchange or trade of queens, and then white played another strange move g3. Okay, usually kasi sa chess, no, yung pawn sa harap ng king mo kapag nag-castling ka, yan yung pinakadamit mo. Habang minumove mo yan, nahuhubaran yung king mo, nagkakaroon ng squares sa pagitan ng king mo na pwedeng pasukan ng kalaban, no? Kapag nangyari yun, just be sure that these squares can easily be filled by your own pieces. Kasi kapag hindi, lalong mag-weak yung squares around your queen, around your king, at mas madali kang pasukin ng pyesa. Actually, the opening of this light square diagonal a8 to h1 diagonal proves fatal for white. Later on, we will see in the game how black took advantage of this. So after queen f6, queen e2, again, pinning his hope on exchanging pieces on e8, or especially on e8, rook e8 check, rook takes rook, queen takes rook, to however generate some counterplay, no? But black blocks the attempt by playing knight to d3. Again, if white attempts to trade rooks on e8, after rook takes rook, queen takes rook, and king h7, the f2 square, the weakness of the f2 square and the b2 square will tell for white, no? Kasi itong knight niya sa d3 is 2 times or maybe 3 times stronger than his knight on d4, which actually practically attacks nothing at all.